Hello and welcome to this short video where I'd like to discuss with you some of the key findings of the most recent CIPS Brexit survey, and particularly in relation to the costs and dislocation that members are expecting around Brexit when we finally exit the European Union on the 1st of January 2021. The first thing that our members reported is that they expect higher prices this Christmas as COVID-19 and Brexit disruptions hit their supply chains. Specifically, nearly a quarter of members reporting in the surveys suggested that they're paying more for their goods and plan to transfer these costs onto consumers this Christmas. Somewhat disconcertingly, nearly half of the businesses reported suggested that they were less prepared for Brexit this January than they were last year. And they attributed this predominantly to the additional impact of the pandemic. In that respect, we find many organisations, as we approach Brexit, with cash reserves that are a lot lower than they were this time last year as a result of the pandemic. Therefore, their ability to stock ahead of Brexit is limited. Furthermore, there's a secondary expectations effect. Having had at least 3 false starts with respect to Brexit, many organisations are somewhat sceptical about building up stocks, incurring the costs of doing so, only to find that Brexit is suspended yet again. There is a real fear amongst members reporting in this survey that goods will be delayed at the port. 45% of members now think that their goods will be delayed by a week or more at the border. We know that the government is currently working on scenarios where 7,000 lorries are delayed at the border in the first month to 6 weeks after Brexit, leading to delays in excess of 2 days. This does not include those lorries which will actually be taken off the road and held in the parking lots around Kent. As we have previously discussed, one of the ways in which to mitigate the risks of delays at the border is to try and bring your supply chain closer to home, to onshore your supply chain. 30% of businesses reported in the survey with an international supply chain had moved at least one supplier back to the UK because of the pandemic. Capacity constraints within the UK supplier base may limit the capability of UK firms to pursue this objective of onshoring their supply chain. There was much reported in the press about the fact that Brexit stockpiles helped at the start of the year in the initial response to COVID when we closed the economy down. So essentially those Brexit stockpiles, which were expected to be used at the beginning of 2020, were actually used to respond to the COVID crisis. So the running down of stocks in the initial stages of the pandemic and the deterioration in the cash position of many businesses mean that 46% of managers reporting in our recent survey say that their businesses are less prepared for Brexit as a result of the pandemic. Interestingly, 50% of UK suppliers say a further lockdown is a greater threat to their supply chains than a no-deal Brexit. So we have this dual challenge, the challenge of the pandemic, the challenge of Brexit, which is putting pressure on cash flows of organisations and also is putting pressure on stocks as we approach the Brexit in January 2021. So faced with the challenges, what are the steps that we can take to ensure that we meet the dual challenge of both Brexit and a continuing pandemic? I think in the first instance, what we need to do is ensure that if we are having to move goods in and out of the country, we've liaised with the people who are going to do our customs clearance. We've got our customs clearance procedures in place, and we are ready to move goods in accordance with the new customs regulation on January 1, 2021. We also need to make a call on, first of all, the extent to which we believe Brexit will happen. Probability now must be very, very high. The extent to which we have sufficient cash flows to increase our stocks, and the extent to which we can secure any available warehouse space, and we know there's pressure on that, in order to better prepare ourselves for the impending Brexit in January 2021. We exist in very challenging times. Preparation, as ever, is important. Please feel free to ask for specialist advice at CIPS if we can help you in any way. Thank you for your attention. I hope you found this short video informative and useful.